The ruling on the field stands.
We deliver jerseys, funny foam fingers, and everything you need for the game. But what you really get is so much more.
FedEx delivery.
Game day spirit. What we deliver by delivering.
Welcome to this morning, Sunday morning, a time when we come from a people who got up, went to church on Sunday. Before there was a such thing as a formal institution, many got up and went out and looked at the sun, communed and fellowshiped with nature, walked and talked amongst the trees and the animals. Some of us have a history and lines that got up and danced and called on the energy of nature or sang praises to ancestors, and medicine spoke to the medicine, spoke to the waters. We are no different, because today and every week that we come here and every week that you choose to be in this space, you are rebirthing your Sunday. Sunday has a special meaning all over the world for many people, where if it's nothing but families gathering, or where you make offerings and bring certain sacrifices to the altar. So today you are acknowledging yourself as that holy ground, this space. And so I am your host. You all are my co-host, and I am LaTanya Taylor, affectionately known as the Rev Coach, the Juicy Spirit Mama, the Priestess of Purpose, Pleasure, and Passion. It's my honor to share this space with you this morning, and many of you are in Good Girls Gone Goddess, or you are have already RSVP'd, and you receive the little reminder every week to come into this space. Some of you have already added this to your telephone book or your Rolodex or whatever your digital way of communing is. So thank you for those who have made this a regular part of your life and not just something that you happen on. I appreciate each and every one of you in a special way. And so we have been talking about the law of vibration. The law of vibration is rather straightforward in the way that we are able to hold that space for one another, because everyone is going to be vibrating at different levels at different times. For women in particular, we are secular beings, so our cycle may change how we vibrate at any time. Many of us are empathic in nature. Some of us are, by our natal chart, are absolutely just moody, and that will change our vibration. Some of us have not had an opportunity to heal the heaviness that has attached to us, and one of the things that we may be aware of or may not be aware of is that any type of trauma changes you. It changes who you are, but that doesn't mean that we live from a space of victimhood, because we absolutely are co-creators with our reality. And hopefully, as you are activating your superpowers every month with these universal principles and laws, well, mainly universal laws that are leading us in, and then the principles that are guiding us to implement certain things into our life. Hopefully you are seeing the result. I believe you are, from the testimonies that I'm receiving. More than anything, it's my intention that you will have an opportunity to understand where this comes from, because of this one thing, it began to change my life, and I was able to translate even the experience of old, the language of old, and I could find the principles and the laws even wherever I went. Even if it was not my home base or my home church, it made me flexible and not rigid, because it's no good to just take on the energy of trading places. You're not necessarily free. You're just trading places with what it is that you what you have learned a little bit of, and you no longer are using that because it no longer works for you. But if you have not cleaned up and cleared up your energetic relationship with yourself, with the divine, with nature, with your nature, and with the nature of those that have been assigned to your life, then it produces basically a recycling effect. So I want to do a check, because I've already been talking a little bit. I want to do a quick check-in to see who can hear my voice. So I'm checking in with 571510. Can you hear my voice okay? Is it coming through?
I can hear your voice fine.
Thank you, and you're the perfect one to unmute. So I look at the divinity in that. So I actually won't be before you long today, because I understand that when you hear these universal laws, that sometimes it's like a violin playing for some people. Especially when you all don't don't necessarily have a whole lot to share. It means most of the times I've been told that it means I'm digesting, I'm processing the information. But when you start assimilating, it's very different than digesting. Assimilating information, you can't really hold it. It starts to spill over in your life. And the sisters who are in the juicy spirit from the rites of passage process, and some of the sisters who have even gone through the 30-day process have attached themselves to this reality. I just can't make this stuff up, because when you start assimilating and integrating it into your life, you realize that you just can't make this stuff up. When you're like, when Jay-Z says on the 444 album, this spiritual ish really does work. A lot of us really are in a space of, I believe, help my unbelief. And many of us are still operating off of the need to prove something. Let me tell you what I mean by that. I remember years ago when I walked into my very first room to begin my journey. At that time, Iyanla was not taking private clients, and I had been doing other work. Let me go back. Let me go back to the beginning before I go to Iyanla. I actually was in New Orleans, and it's nothing like your health that will get your attention. And I forgot exactly how I ended up in the office of this practitioner, but I was very religious, very, very strict in my practice at that time, and married. And I remember when I went, I don't know how I ended up there. Some of you may have an experience where you don't remember the first time that you took up an offer to try something outside of your norm. And so I went to receive services from this white woman tucked off deep in the country of Louisiana on the West Bank of New Orleans. And who knew that this woman was going to tap into what was already inside of me to come out, and she introduced me to this universal law. And I literally latched onto it like it was someone giving me holy script that was written on inside of my heart. And it began a journey for me. But why she did it was so that I could understand how spiritual principles work in health. So fast forward the tape. I didn't know. I'm a young woman. I'm in charge of women 3 to 4 times my age at this time. I'm 19 years old, early 20s, and I'm in leadership. At that time in the nation, they call it a captain. The captain was the highest ranking woman, other than unless she was a woman minister in the nation, and there weren't many women in ministry. I did that too, even in the nation. And so I was a captain, and at first I was a lieutenant in Baton Rouge and that type of thing. And so I really was navigating through the religion, through the practice of the religion. Come on now, let me help somebody. And I was in leadership through the practice of the religion, but not necessarily through lived experience. And so at a certain point, now I'm a wife, I'm in leadership. What that does is it starts to make your circle kind of small. And so I felt like I needed the guidance of an elder. I felt that in my spirit. My soul was directing me to get more. And when I would go into the library at that time, everything was only on Black consciousness and revolution and more of the slave experience and why we were oppressed. I had been inundated with that. I was good with that. It did not support me in my life as a woman. And I wasn't necessarily in a space except for the religious women that could help guide me as a young wife with a husband at that time that was an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurship was different. I was in a new city. That was different. I was in a religion that I had chosen, but it was still calling forth something very different than being on campus at this time. So I was in a transitional state. And I remember the first time, it might have been Acts of Faith or Valley in the Valley. I didn't know that this woman would end up becoming my personal mentor and teacher and madrina and mother. I didn't know that. And I didn't have an agenda, and I certainly didn't have a whole lot of pride. And I say that to say, when I first walked into, when Iyanla first started, she was not taking private clients, and really she still doesn't, you know. And I walked into this room, and I'll never forget that there was a woman who was like 70 years old in this room to begin this journey to be coached. And I remember one of the first exercises she got assigned to me. I was her coach, and she was my client. I was a little uncomfortable. Now, I had this reality before, but Lord, she taught me so much in terms of her willingness and how her life was not over, and how she was retraining her brain by choice. And I say that to some of us who are young women, who are young and fiery, and we want to be significant in our lives, and particularly in this world of branding and image. And many of us give up on being supported. And oftentimes, sisters, it's because of our relationship with our mother that our vibration is still stuck in the need to fill in the gap of what residue was not completely filled in or healed. And so I can tell you, because I know, because I have had people hold my hand and I let go of their hand because I thought, now I can do it by myself. Let me show you. And I didn't understand that we get assigned mentors, elders, and coaches for a reason, that it is beyond time, that it is beyond age. And some of us sometimes think that it's a sign of weakness to stay in a process of learning and growth and development and question and seeking and implementation and assimilation and integration. And it's not. And what it does is it slows down the law of vibration for our particular orbit. We all have an orbit. When I was in the nation, and many of you who may have been 5% nation or nation of gods in the earth, you all know about supreme wisdom. When you come in, you learn supreme wisdom, which are the actual facts of the universe that teach you the rotation of the earth, the rate of motion and speed of the earth, the orbit of the planet. And you wonder why at that time you're learning these science and facts. And it's not until you continue the journey that you start to put the pieces back together. Because the wisdom council of the mystery schools knew that we would stray away from ancient wisdom, and they would have to divide it into pieces. And so to think that just because you have a piece that you are whole, you must continue the journey of your own holy boldness. And so we slow down our own rate of motion when we're not teachable, coachable, trainable. We slow down our own rate of motion to be high vibe when we think that because we know one thing or two things or three things that there's not more. And I set this up to bring a sister who made her desire very known in this space, on the call, live, recorded, and you can't do anything but give honor and props where it's due. And so I set that up because I bring before you our dear beloved sister whose voice that you hear often in here, who's so melodic, so sweet, that many people have claimed her as their aunt. She really is the aunt of Dana Beasley. And I relieved her of that title. You don't hear me call her Aunt Tommy so much because I know a lot of times when people start attaching to you certain assignments that you didn't necessarily ask for, even though she has made it clear that she likes it, that sometimes it won't allow you the moment to be vulnerable and authentic and to be able to let your image down. And so I wanted her to come into a space amongst sisters, and that's what she did. And she has continued to do it she started off, a lot of times I don't let people start off with the rites of passage process, but she came heavily recommended by her own daughter, who has been such high vibe, juicy butterfly, you got to know it's in the bloodline. So that's one hell of a setup for the woman that we love to hear her juicy pleasure reports in the right setting, not here. But I'm bringing before you our own beloved Tommy and Aunt Tommy, juicy butterfly to everyone. Are you there?
I'm here.
All right now.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I only have 10 minutes. And so I'm going to try to sum all of this up in 10 minutes, which I think I have. So LaTanya wanted me to talk to you today about how I got unstuck and kept moving as I learned to apply principles in my life. And she also wanted me to talk about how I moved from grief into juicy options in my life. And so that's what I'm going to do. But first I want to say a quote from Toni Morrison that I love so much. And the quote is, and she, speaking of melanated women, she's talking about, and she had nothing to fall back on, not maleness, not whiteness, not ladyhood, not anything. And out of the profound desolation of her reality, she may very well have invented herself. And I like to say, rebirthed herself. So, how I got unstuck. Okay, so I came to LaTanya 3 years ago, and I went through several processes. And I can break this down for you in 3 steps. I was grieving because I had lost my husband. And if you've ever cared for someone who has cancer, if you've ever cared for someone who you watch daily slowly slip away, you can imagine how sad that is. And we had such a wonderful marriage, such a beautiful, beautiful marriage. But I won't go there because I only have 10 minutes. But first step, I had to feel it. The second step was that I had to make a choice. And the third step was that I had to come up with a plan. And so if I could sum this little theme up for you that I'm trying to convey, I would say problem, process, result. So first of all, the first
thing
Can you
adjust your volume? Your volume is going in and out. If you can put your mic close to your mouth or whatever you need to do to adjust.
Okay, is this better?
A little bit.
Is that better? Oh, a little bit. Okay. So the first thing that I had to do to become unstuck was I had to feel it. And I had to go deep. Feel the pain of the loss of my husband. And grief will bring up prior losses and prior issues. And I started to grieve it all over again, everything. And so feeling it, I had to go deep inside, and I had to go really deep into my spirit. And I had to call on God and the goddesses inside of me. And I had to remember, it brought me to the remembrance of my ancestors. So I had to feel the sadness, the hurt, the pain. And let me tell you, I felt it. So all of that involves going to the root. And so I really did some hard work through coaching. And so the second step was that I had to make a choice. I had to make a choice to keep moving and learn to apply principles for myself. I had to make a choice to get busy living, get busy depressed, get busy dying, and, you know, of course, all of that depression, just stop. All of that was on the table. All of that was an option. But I never considered those options. But I knew they were on the table. And so as I began to do my root work, and I made a choice. I made a choice to get into community of women. And so from that, through coaching, I developed a plan. And I learned to apply some principles. I had to have a written plan for myself for moving forward. And so how I moved from grief to juicy options for my life, number one was I gave some thought and some study to the desires of my heart. And in that, I used my resources. I developed a plan. And so I got into study, meditation, prayer, rituals. I started using some tools. I examined and researched and indulged in pleasure for myself. And so I started to extend myself to myself. And there are things inside you that are just waiting to be awakened. And so as I went in this coaching process, I started out in a 6-month coaching process, and LaTanya said, let's just see what you birthed at the end of this process. And then I went into a 30-day process. Then I went into a prayer process. And then I went into a 6-month rites of passage. This is all over a course of 3 years. And so as a result of all of that, let me just tell you the results. This whole thing, this whole coaching process exceeded all of my expectations.
One second, Tommy. 1 second, because I'm having a hard time hearing you, and I need to see if it's just me.
Okay.
If they're missing it, and I don't know if you have me off some speaker. Normally you come through really, really clear, so I'm just checking. 757-752. Can you hear Tommy's voice clearly?
Yes, I can hear it clear.
Okay.
Shall I continue?
571-835. Can you hear Tommy's voice clearly?
Yes, I hear her clear.
Okay, continue.
Okay. And so I guess that what I'd like to do is I just want to tell you the results of this process. First of all, I changed my diet. Red meat went out of the window. And for a while, even chicken went out of the window. I manifested a luxury vacation to several different exotic islands. I healed the relationship that I had with my supervisor. I had a horrible relationship with my supervisor. He's a retired drill sergeant from the Marines. And so you can imagine, I thought I was going to have to file a lawsuit, but I used my tools. I manifested a part-time job. I manifested a roommate, which these things led me to more abundance. I developed a closeness with God and the goddesses and the ancestors, really deep. I've studied daily for knowledge. Every day I study something. I developed a community of friends and goddesses near and far, and I remain in community. I developed confidence, and I manifested a luxury vehicle that I had desired all my life almost, to delve into pleasure, and sensuality. In the meantime, I started to be asked out on dates, date after date after date with guys. I cut off relationships that no longer served me. I developed an inner peace and understanding of myself using my femininity. I allow my little girl to serve me as it is appropriate still now. I remain in community. I allow myself to feel the dark side when it comes up. I have rituals that I go through when that dark side comes up. I wear black and do all kinds of things to help myself, because I understand that out of darkness comes light. But more importantly, I can say that now I am the proud owner of a consulting business. One Reach is the name of my company, and I'm the proud sole proprietor of that, and I'm registered. And so that's mainly what I have to share. But I will say that after all of this coaching, I had the honor of going through a rites of passage process, which sealed the deal for me. And so if you want something different for your life, if you want joy, if you want to have the desires of your heart, I would say, try something new. Try something new. Dig deep and utilize your femininity and understand that the universe is always working on your behalf. So I surrender, and I'm honored to be in this space. I love it, and I'm lost for words at this point. It all exceeded my expectations, and I want to say that I thank you, and all of this has allowed me to extend myself to myself. So that's it. Any questions? Hello?
Oh, wow. I thought you were responding to me. I said, let's reactivate some of that flow that you had, because I don't know if the interruptions broke up your flow a little bit, but I want to recap some of the juiciness that I heard. First of all, that last thing you just said is if you extended yourself to yourself, Lord, that's a serious tweetable right there. And then, yeah, that'll give you pause. But you gave a formula, and I wanted to hear a little bit more from you on the formula. You said problem,
process, and results.
Mm-hmm.
Problem, process, and results. And to sum it all up was the rites of passage.
So beyond just the processes that you experienced, which I hear that impacted your life, how is it that you being a somewhat kind of, in terms of chronology, a senior, what made you so willing to be coachable? What made you so willing to do something new and different, and then have the audacity to apply it with such deliciousness? So what is it? What is it inside of you that spoke to you? Because there's a God inside of you that guided you.
Yes. So what guided me was that I knew that death was not an option for me. I knew that depression was not an option. I didn't want that for my life. I knew that medication was not an option. I had been given some some antidepressant by the doctor. And I believe in medication sometimes, but I didn't want to walk around asleep. And so I knew that there were things inside me that could be rebirthed. And so that was my motivation. Death was not an option. I had a desire to rebirth myself, and the universe sent me what I needed. Dana, my niece, led me to this process. She recognized that I needed something to help me get through this thing. And that's how I got in touch with LaTanya and ReBirth International. And I can tell you it was juicy. It's been juicy. Juicy. I took all these principles to another level.
And talk a little bit about that another level in terms of how you work the principles for yourself. Because LaTanya's not there when you make a choice to meditate. LaTanya's not there when you take whatever has been said and say, let me go and apply this to my life. Let me go on a date. Let me cry my way through and know that I'm going to be okay on the other side. Let me ask for support. What was there for you then?
Okay, so after the funeral and after the friends and the family and loved ones and everybody's gone, you're here. I'm here in this house with the spirit of grief alone. And I realized that there was something in me that could do this because I've done it before. And so Spirit started to bring to my remembrance my ancestors, all of the things that I had overcome in the past, all of the things that had just been given to me. And I can tell you, and one thing that I really came to my remembrance was that in my life, there's nothing that I have ever prayed for that I did not get. And so it started out with prayer. And so through that, my memory kicked in to some of the ancient wisdom, ancient principles. And so I started to, when you reach for that, you get into a vibration. And you give and you ask and you command and you put it out there and it all comes back to you. So. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing. I know that there's probably more. And is there anything else that was on your heart, to just freestyle and share? Anything else as I open up the line? All I can say is, don't underestimate your desires. Don't underestimate your desires. Keep it in the forefront so that it can get embedded on your subconscious mind. And come up with a plan. Use your resources. There are your resources all around you. Study, meditate, pray. Use your tools. And don't be afraid. I don't want to offend anyone, but don't be afraid to delve into pleasure. Use your yoni. And just extend yourself to yourself. Spend time with yourself. Get to know yourself. Try something different. Try something new. Just try it.
Thank you so much, Tommy. I'm going to
you know how far I've come. You know how far I've come.
But this is your moment. I want you to put it in your words. So this is your moment. So I want to open up the line. So if there's something that you heard from Tommy, Aunt Tommy, to others that blessed your heart, opened your spirit, caused your belly to leap, or even if there was just something that you are sitting with that she said, I want you to just give her that love and energy in the way of how you process what you heard her say. The lines are now open.
Good morning. Can you hear me okay?
Morning.
Good morning.
Yes.
Okay. I'm so grateful for you sharing your story. This is Dana, for those of you who don't know me. I'm just so grateful for you sharing your story, Aunt Tommy, and being open to yourself. I love that you said you made a choice. You know, you made a choice. You saw the process that was going on. You made a choice for yourself. And I know oftentimes, even in my life, making the choice can be the hardest part, the most difficult, the most challenging piece. But once you make the choice and move forward in that choice, then that's where the magic begins. And I have seen that demonstrated through you time and time and time again. And so I'm just so grateful for that. And I'm just, I give thanks to the ancestors for that demonstration, to also show that, not only that it's in sisterhood this can be done, but even in my bloodline, in my lineage, this is taking place. And so, it shows the capabilities that are within even me, even me, Lord, even me. And so I just give thanks for your demonstration, for you making a choice, for you implementing a plan for yourself and moving forward above and beyond those things. And so that, just thank you. I'm just so grateful this morning.
You're so welcome. Inspiration.
Thank you for sharing that. I'm so honored to witness it. Anyone else?
Good morning. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, can hear you loud and clear.
Awesome. The thing that came to my spirit listening to niece and auntie this morning was a song dropped into my spirit. How excellent is thy name. I remember singing as a little girl.
Yes.
In the church youth choir at True Love Missionary Baptist Church. But it is good to be in this space this morning just to, hear the process of your sister, but not only that, to be on the journey with her. And also when she spoke about the process and being in the process and allowing yourself, just give yourself the time. Just give yourself the space. Just believe in yourself a little bit at a time and just walk the journey. But it has been such a pleasure to walk this journey with y'all, to have Mama LaTanya, to have sisters as such, Dana and so many others, and Tommy, and the example. I think the example is the thing that just my heart's just full right now. Just, how we talk about the cup running over. I can feel the juices running out because it is it's such a pleasure. I guess that's what it is. You find that pleasure. We come here seeking. And when you seek, you shall find. And I'm happy about the finding, the receiving, the giving, And so all of those things, I'm just so grateful for your story. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for this space, LaTanya. And how excellent is thy name.
Beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, all songs start to take on new meaning when you awaken to yourself. When you extend yourself to yourself, that's a word right there. Anyone else? I know a couple people let me know that they had background noise. Good morning. Go for it, my love.
Good morning. I just say give thanks for that beautiful story or journey. It just, touched my heart in such a way, and I just am sitting here just really full. And as the other sister said, my cup runneth over. I could just feel so many parts of myself in your story in terms of just, some of the things you said about spending time with yourself and, I just sit and just doing the rituals when you feel yourself needing to do certain things. And so I just give thanks for, just your delightfulness and your juiciness and how it just spilled over us this morning. So I just want to say I give thanks and I celebrate you in all of your glory.
Thank you.
That's so beautiful.
So much.
Thank you. That's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Anyone else have a prayer request? Everyone is not always as active in terms of asking for support. A lot of that, though, sisters, I'm going to tell you, it has a lot to do with the ego. That, a lot of times when we think that we don't have anything to say or that I don't want anybody to know what I'm going through, and that's what causes a lot of times you to cancel out all of the prayers and the work that you've been doing, is a lot of times holding it so close. Like I was telling one sister, I said, I was telling a client out of the country, no less. And I said, that thing has become your best friend. That pain, that identity has become your friend. It's more loyal to you than pleasure has been to you. It's more loyal to you than prosperity has been. And so when something else has been more loyal to us, it does not necessarily mean that it's good for us. But because it's loyal, we'll hang on to it and not let go so easily that you mean to tell me if I take this leap, if I just show up for myself with my voice, to vocalize, I'm grateful, thank you, or I have a question, or I'm still trying to learn and understand something. How did we get here as women? How did we become women who will holler all day through the house at our children? We'll holler, we'll cuss a Negro out, up one side and down the next when we feel like something has been taken or withheld from us. But, baby, what happens to our voice when it's time for us to pray, when it's time for us to affirm, when it's time for us to show up? It's silent on the other side of the phone. But that is because oftentimes we think that there's something we're supposed to say in a perfect way, not knowing that just your 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 yes and amen, or ooh, that blessed me, or ooh, I got to go study that, or can you say that title again? Just that engages your own reality, because many of us have been stuck. And where we get stuck is we stop showing up. We take fight or flight as our coping mechanism and our best friend. And when it comes time to sustain it, and that is why I was really inspired to know that Tommy and I were on the same page about hearing more from her. So I hope that it did lift up or cause a belly leap for someone in this space. And Minister Dana said something so powerful in this morning. She said, to witness my bloodline. And those of you who were in the Juicy You, the 30-day process, y'all know I cried little girl tears because my first cousin participated in the Juicy You. When you have spent your life as being the one that goes out and travels before everybody else, and then your family, your bloodline look at you crazy, question you, label you, and sometimes even the people who you think will be rocking with you fall away from you. When your bloodline shows up to do this kind of cellular work, this type of soul retrieval work, and play, not just work. I understand what Dana meant. And many of us are not sharing this work with people because you want something for yourself. But I'm telling you, when you start sharing this work with other people in your life, you start to heal your bloodline and your family, because you can't always be the one that can retrieve them. Sometimes they have to hear it from somebody else. And your call is to be the interruption, not necessarily the savior. The interruption, though, sometimes is the savior, though. Look at that. But we think that we're the ones that have to save our children. But when your children go out and get mentored, they can hear from someone else the thing, and you go and you say, I've been saying that. I've been telling them that. Your husband can be the one. You tell your husband something. Read this book. Check out this author. But your husband hears it from another man, because iron sharpens iron. Steel sharpens. And so when he goes and hears it from somebody else, and he come back and he reading the book that he looked at you and was like, I ain't interested in that. So we have to move out of the way lest we sabotage the call on our life and ego starts to rise up. We have to move out of the way. I didn't go looking for my cousin. My cousin must have been watching, and I would just fellowship with my cousin from my heart, and she showed up. But I got other cousins that I'm closer with. My sister, who probably, I don't know, I won't say never, but by the time she decides to show up in Juicy, I might not be facilitating it anymore. But even that will be in divine order. And my niece, a millennial, don't want to have nothing to do with none of this stuff, but she's getting it in other ways. And every time she gets it, she'll send me a little note. And she's been watching. Your girls are watching, ladies, whether they're your nieces, whether they're your mentees, your girls are watching, and they are not trying to follow conformity. They're looking for people who are liberated and live it, not just people who talk it and they ain't living it. And these millennials, they ain't trying to follow that type of pattern anymore. And they're calling us on our stuff, or they're going in the opposite direction. So that being said, it's a good time to segue. If there's anyone who has anything to share later, bring it into our Good Girls Gone Goddess, into our community space, and the replay will be posted there. But let's bring, I wanted to do this morning because from Tommy's belly and wealth of wisdom to our little girls. Before we call on any of the ancestors who have gone on, let's sandwich our little girls. Let's put them in the middle. I want you to speak the name of any of your teens and preteens into this space this morning who we need to cover in prayer. And I want to say this before I call the names, because many of these names will never be known. But every little girl who has been in proximity to or a victim of sexual trafficking or human trafficking in any form, any little girl who is lost and has been called by another name, any little girl who's being held captive in someone's warehouse in another country, or right in someone's home in Rockville, Maryland, or in the affluent neighborhoods who are now been abducted. We call those spirits of those little girls to know that there's a legion of women who are rising up to pray for you, to intercede for you. We're calling the ones who are fighting on the front lines of this energy into this space. I'm calling the unknown little girls first, that they may be made known in the land. Speak the names of your little girls that you know, or your daughters, or your nieces. Go ahead. Just speak them. Ashe. 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 Elena Burton.
Holly.
Crystal.
Rain
Maya.
SELAH. Continue.
Christina.
Trey. Melinda,
JC,
Gabrielle,
Ashe. Mojo,
Maya, Maya,
Mariah, Ashe.
all the girls at Park Central.
Ashe. And now let's call our mothers, our mothers into this space to be a sandwich between the ancestors, the little girls, and us. So let's call our mothers on the other side. Josie B. Taylor, Priscilla Noble Nash,
Shirley
Della
Wright,
Tangston,
Terry Jackson, Alice Marshall,
Ashe,
Walthall, Braxton,
Ashe, Mama
Mama,
Ashe,
Roberta,
Ashe,
Eddie Mae Weaver,
Ayanna Tamara,
Minnie Brown Cosby,
Rosa Jackson,
Vivian
Pat
Williams,
Hamlet, Catherine Hamlet,
Ashe. Mother, Father, God, Holy Spirit, all that is, the eachness of our all, the allness of our eachness. We come into this space acknowledging that nothing can separate us from the love, the power of God, not age, not grief, not interruptions, not even unknown names of little girls, for nothing can separate them in this moment from our love. We bring our womb consciousness into this space this morning to receive love for our little girls, to receive love for the unmothered places in us, to receive love for the mothers who were once little girls, who had mothers who did the best that they could, maybe not even as good as they could have, but they had it. We bring those little girls who have been lost to crime of humanity into this space. I've called forth the hearts of women to have courage again, to show up beyond conformity and what society says they're supposed to feel, to be, to do, and to have on a particular timeline. We call forth the energy and power of the mothers, the aunties, the mentees into this space to rebirth and emerge transformed again and again so that we will be able to rebirth the lives of little girls, or when we birth them, we never have to rebirth them because one birth is enough. Let us call forth a legion of girls that are coming through the womb consciousness, that know who they are, that stand in their power unapologetically, that have their superpowers are already activated because of our diet, because of our detoxing on unhealthy emotions, because of our willingness to tell the truth about who we are and what we've experienced without finding fault or blame or protection or projection, that we will give ourselves permission to spread our wings, to live in pleasure, to stand without shame, guilt, or fear of God, that we understand that the holy I am lives within us, around us, through us, and activated in our lives and in our being. We thank you for the little girls that are moving in truth towards their divine assignment. We thank you for our mothers on the other side who prayed prayers when they were not able to move forward, that someone would come. And we are that someone because we say so. And we thank you that we embrace the divine interruption of our assignment so that we can become more available to hear more of the details, because sometimes we look for the revelation, for the safety before we jump. But thank you, Holy Spirit, for each and every woman on this call who has taken the leap in the direction of her soul's call and sometimes her soul's cry. We thank you for getting us unstuck when we have the temptation to wallow, the temptation to cover up and shield and bunker down when there is no fight, when there is no need for it. Help us, Holy Spirit, to get out of our own way. We ask that you send the thoughts that come to separate us from the nothingness, send it back to the nothingness from which it came. And when we speak, we're not speaking to some God that's sitting high and looking low. We're activating the God within us to rise up and override those dark and shadow thoughts that are a part of us. We activate the God within us to stand up, to rise up, to sing up, to turn up, to just let it be so. And we thank you, Holy Spirit, that greater things that we hear others doing for those who have been silent, that they will know that they are things that they will do, can do, and are worthy of doing in their lives as a demonstration of their divinity, of the law of vibration, that all things are always in motion, and so are we. We thank you for this motion in our lives. We thank you that it is prospering us, that it is providing for us, that it is protecting us and guiding us along our path. We give thanks for these ancestors and for the demonstration of them in us, in our lives. We move out of the way so that we can let it be so. Let the words that I have sent forth accomplish that which I have sent them forth to do and not return to me void. And that it shall be done on the earth in this lifetime, and we let it be so, and so it is. Ashe.
Ashe. Ashe. Thank you.
Thank you all. For those of you who are in this special space and you are interested in the Rites of Passage journey, the doors are now being opened to you as an invitation. Just send me a note to say I accept the invitation, and we will set up an interview to see if it's the right process for you. I love you, and there's nothing you can do about it. Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.